Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Marjorie and we're here with Yellow Cake Radio and
UnLearn the World.
UnLearn the World. Alrighty. Well, definitely thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you, man.
Glad to be here.
Have you.
Glad to be here. Happy to be here.
UnLearn the World.
Yes.
Love it. What inspired that name for you?
A myriad of things, really. I originally started with my name being Unlearn, and I wanted to kind of make it broader, or make it like more of a statement. I thought Unlearn was a little bit too pretentious for the kind of music that I was doing, which kind of like is all over the place. Like when you think of Unlearn, I guess the automatic connotations are like socially conscious, or like, you know, political, or like woke, or like whatever the case is, but I have an experience that is outside of that pale a lot of the time, you know, like I go different places, I do different things. I'm not like, you know, Moses on the mountain, or like, you know, I'm not like this super ultra like socially conscious dude. I'm very like human and very accessible. So I thought like adding the world to it makes it more of a statement. Makes it more like of a mission statement and an intention, as opposed to just like a name and a personality. So what I basically did, I took Unlearn from the last word that shows in my favorite movie, Higher Learning. At the end of it, it has like Unlearn in big red letters. And then one of my favorite songs ever is the song that got me into rapping in the first place, is The World Is Yours by Nas. So I took the first two words of my favorite rap song and the last word of my favorite movie and put them together, Unlearn the World. And then you know, that's the mission statement. That's the path that I'm on.
I like that path. That's really good.
Yeah.
When did that path start for you? And how did it start for you?
Well, one could say when I was born, right? You could say like, oh yeah, you know, when the life that you live. Well, I mean, I would like to think like I've lived a very unique life from its inception, right? So that path of self-discovery and trying to process your own environment started very early for me. I was very introspective at a very early age, and in order to make the sense of my life and the things that were around and the circumstances, I had to write, and I had to kind of come up with poems and stories and all of these different things. As I got older and got more into hip-hop, it became rhymes, and it moved away from poetry, and it was more about writing rhymes, and it was about performing, you know, and kind of expressing my experience and telling people who I am and what I come from and what I think on an everyday basis and all of that. So it's been a while. I mean, we're talking about like I've been writing rhymes 20 some odd years. I've been recording rhymes 20 some odd years. I've been writing them since I was like, you know, 10, 11 years old.
Dang.
You know, so like I have skin in the game, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. 11 years old, little sixth grader.
Exactly.
Where'd you come from?
I'm born and raised in New York City.
All right.
I come from Washington Heights, Manhattan, which is right above Harlem, for those who don't know. Shout out to Washington Heights. Manhattan in general. New York in general. You know? That's
the no, you still have that accent too.
I do. It comes and goes depending on who I talk to. If I'm talking to somebody from like back east, or I'm talking to my family, it gets real thick.
For sure. I like that, man. Alrighty, well, yeah, moving forward into the transition between your poetry to your performance side. Man, what are like some of your biggest inspirations when it comes to the things that you talk about, or what have you seen to spark these ideas?
I think it's, you know, I mean, the cliche term is life, right? But like within that, you know, you go through experiences, and like you deal with heartbreak, and you deal with growing up in poverty, and like me, I've always been of two minds, right? Like I grew up, the woman who raised me and the family who raised me wasn't my biological family, right? And like they did a lot of things, good and bad, to get money, and they were well off and upper middle class, so to speak. But then my actual biological family was poor, and I grew up living in both of these worlds. I spent weekends living on the other side of town, where, you know, rats and roaches, bullet holes in the hallway, in the, you know what I'm saying, the windows. You had crack addicts, you had homeless people, you had all of this, and then you live on the other side. You go back to your nice little cozy life where it's not as stressful. You can buy clothes whenever you want clothes. You have food in your stomach. You go to a nice school. You have a nice neighborhood. All of these things. So I lived on both of those worlds. And then as I grew older and started to identify more with my biological family and living with my actual mother and all of that, I'm still living in poverty, but my brain has already been conditioned to want the excess, to want more, to be a little bit more materialistic than the average kid, because I know what it is to have it. But then that kind of develops into like wanting to be a better person, writing rhymes to explore myself, reading books in order to get words to rhyme.
Right.
And that the transformative quality of what I'm reading, politics, religious books, you know, newspapers, that gives me the motivation and the desire to be more conscious and to be better as a human being, and to give me some sort of moral compass. But that is combated with my instinctual or my preconditioned need for materialism and all of that. So that's the balance. So when we talk about unlearning the world, I'm unlearning my own vices and
your own like conditioning almost.
Yeah, it's self-exploratory. You know, every time I do music, anything that I do, it's part of that process and that challenge.
That is a challenge, growing up with like almost like a scarcity mindset and moving into abundance. There's a lot of growth that needs to, you know, happen in order for this to come about. Precisely. And so when it comes to where you're at now, I'm hearing so much abundance that you want to like give back to others. Yeah. You know, when you speak, when you do your music and things like that.
I think that life comes from abundance. I think charity comes from abundance. You can only give when you have excess of. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't, I think people run the mistake of giving so much of themselves when they're on empty. And then they get burnt out, they become cynical in their ways, and they change. And, you know, you lose your soul in a sense. You know what I'm saying? The things that make you, the passion that you have, the drive to be good and righteous, you can lose that if you don't have an abundance to give out. So it's really a matter of self-care first. And then from that position of self-care, you can then give out. So I try to consider what it is that I have an abundance of. If I have an abundance of knowledge regarding certain experiences, then that's what I want to give out. If I have abundance of money in comparison to somebody who I'm passing by on the street, maybe I can give them a couple bucks. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? If I like cooking, right? So I like to feed people. That's also something that comes from abundance. And I like to feed people and give food and give things that make people human. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I have an abundance of awareness of my own humanity to some extent. And I think that we're in a society where our humanity is being siphoned from us. So to give people that glimpse into humanity and to remember their own humanity, right? I'm not giving them anything that they don't already have themselves. I'm just giving them the spark to remind themselves of it. And that's what I'm trying to do with everything that I do. So it's just a matter of like giving, that's the charity, the charitable nature of my creativity.
I love that. And I definitely see that in your own energy and in the things that you put out with your music, with your message even.
Appreciate that.
My goodness. And so what are some things that you want to get into?
I think overall, I'm a hip hop head, and I grew up hip hop, and I'm from that generation. And I was telling a friend of mine the other day, I said, we're the first generation that actually grew up with hip hop music, right? Like my older brother's generation, they can remember a time where hip hop did not exist. If you were born in the 70s, you can remember a time where hip hop was kind of foreign and was kind of new. My generation, we grew up with it. It was, you know, from out the womb, you had Run DMC and all these other great acts that grew up, Nas, Biggie, Tupac. I grew up with it. So that's the generation that I come from, right? And I want to use hip hop as the catalyst for social change. I think that's the next evolution of the art form. That's the next evolution of the culture, is to use it as a force to bring in a new train of thought.
Hip hop is big.
Right, a new era of consciousness, and through having that consciousness and that reawakening and that awareness, using it as the driving force for political change, for social change, for environmental change, right? Because it's one of the only things out here that is universal and that people can agree on, regardless of class, culture, race, whatever. You have people fighting religious wars. People don't fight hip hop wars anymore. You have rapper beefs, but you don't have a hip hop war. Like based on interpretation, people can all agree that hip hop is a uniting force. Whether you're turning up in a club or you're just vibing and listening to some dope music, it's like that's a binding force.
True.
And I think we can use that energy that is harnessed in those environments and in that experience to push the envelope forward in terms of what we need for our people of color, people in poverty, people who need, who just don't, who are living without love, without food, whatever the case is. We can use hip hop to change this environment, to change this reality.
Yes, and it does have that power. It does. Everyone's listening to the radio, everyone's listening to these things, they're always following. Yeah. But it sounds like you want to create like a revolution.
Yeah, I would say revolution, but I always preface that with saying it's a revolution of thought first, because I feel like I'm of the position that you can't change anything in society without changing that which you see in the mirror every day.
Every day.
You know what I'm saying? And every day you have the opportunity to change and refine who you are, refine your desires, refine your appetites that I would submit and argue are conditioned. We're conditioned to desire certain things in this society.
True.
We're conditioned with certain beliefs and ideas about wealth, about success, about homeless people, about X, Y, and Z
Definitely.
that are not our own. And they speak contrary to our instinctual humanity. Right? So I feel like by using hip hop to remind us of our actual humanity, our inherent ability to be empathetic, our inherent ability to be compassionate, we can then in tune or intertwine ourselves with other human beings, with other living things in this world, and it makes us recipients of divine guidance. You know what I'm saying? Because it becomes larger, it becomes this very cosmic, conscious thing when you really get into it. It starts with the music, but then it gets deeper. You know?
Yes.
So that's the hype I'm on.
Impact and even the vibration of everything.
Absolutely.
Flows.
Exactly. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? The vibration of just hip hop parties in general, it's to boost our morale, but to have us vibrate at a frequency that makes us recipients of that inspiration, that makes us better people, that speaks to the better angels of our nature, that we can then transcend into something larger, something bigger, something more helpful and beneficial to humanity at large. You know?
I believe that definitely.
Yeah.
My goodness, this is some really good stuff, and I can just feel that this has to happen.
Yeah,
this has to happen.
It's imperative, especially the time we're in now politically, time we're in now socially. It's time to start really kicking down doors, you know, proverbially, and really like start pushing the envelope in terms of what we need to do.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Especially now because we're combated with like what I call quote unquote mainstream radio, where you see the dichotomy between hip hop culture, right? The culture, and I always tell my students, like, culture is defined as the expression of human intellect, right? So art, painting, dance, music, all culture, right? And then you just have the isolated, compartmentalized music that's being co-opted and gentrified by corporations and being pushed out there as basically commercials for self-destruction, right?
You see that,
When you hear it on the radio, what they talk about, drugs, money, fame, you know, frivolous sex, all these things that speak to our lower vibration. They're using hip hop to push that agenda. Meanwhile, the culture is going in the opposite direction. So you have this divergence. So for me, it's important to bring people back to the awareness of the culture and have them remember how this started. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really
back to the
important.
roots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, yeah, this is a genre of music, but it's also a culture. And it's a culture that stemmed from people wanting to be better. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really what it started. Like, gangbangers started this culture, right? Like, gangsters and people fighting each other in the streets, and they used this as a conduit to stop that, to stop the beef between themselves, to stop arguing and fighting and killing one another. They said, all right, let's start having these jams. Let's start having these parties.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let's all get together. Peace, love, unity, having fun. Like, let's start doing that. And then while we're doing that, we become more welcoming of these universal messages that are being given to us by the heavens, right? Like, that's really what it is. And it becomes this evolutionary thing, and we raise our consciousness that way. So it's important. It needs to happen now.
Yes. So moving forward, what are some issues or what are you really looking for?
What am I really looking for?
What are you really looking for?
I'm looking for my own humanity. I'm you know what I'm saying? Like, when I say unlearn, it's to unlearn my own stuff, right? Like, I'm a human being just like everybody else. I deal with the same vices and issues that everybody else is. So the step is to at least try to start becoming a better person in myself and documenting that, so that people can see it from an objective perspective and see what a purpose-driven life looks like, with the hopes that they're inspired by it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just
too. Really good book.
but I want them to be inspired by it so that they can do it themselves, so they can be courageous enough to do it themselves, to recognize that you don't have to be confined or defined by your 9 to 5 or by the job title you have or by the emails you have to answer. You know what I'm saying? The matter-of-fact experience that we've been given, you can break out of that paradigm and do what your heart desires. You know what I'm saying? Fulfill your purpose. Do what it is that makes you happy. Because it is in making yourself happy, you become your best self. And you are more beneficial, and you can add value to the rest of the world.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
My goodness, you are speaking so much truth.
It's real. Like, I think, you know, all the issues that we have, all the social strife and the problems that you see around the world, whether it's wars or politics, political infighting in our country and abroad, they're symptoms of a larger existential crisis in the human psyche. I always tell people, like, we're the only species on this planet that runs contrary to our purpose.
That's true.
And the danger of that is that I would argue that we are the most important species on the planet, because us not fulfilling our purpose and us running contrary to it causes the planet to start dying.
Yep.
Causes global catastrophes. You know what I'm saying? Global warming, climate change, all of this that now experts are saying that it's human based, right? But it's human based because of our behavior, and our behavior is based on conditioning, and it is based on reacting, ego, as you know what I'm saying, feeding the ego as opposed to the soul. Like, these are things that we're running contrary to our purpose, and the planet's suffering because of it. Yeah. So we need to reverse the polarity so that we can, maintain ourselves
and start to flourish.
Exactly.
As a whole.
Exactly.
That's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
Mike, I want to ask you,
yes,
what is your definition of wealth and abundance?
Well, it's all subjective, right? What I define as success for myself is something that may not be the same for somebody else, may not be the same for you. For me, success and abundance and wealth is peace of mind, is the quelling of anxiety. Family, friends, people who are around you on a consistent basis who inspire you and you inspire them in turn. Right. Living within a community where everybody is helping one, each one teach one, many hands makes for light work, whatever cliche you want to use.
These are all true.
Like, these are all things that I think that define success, a successful lifestyle without societal anxieties that we have. Oh, I gotta pay bills, and I gotta do this.
I gotta be there.
I gotta be there. This rushing, this rigmarole of mundanity that we all experience at one level or another that frustrates us. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, traffic. I hate traffic. I can't. It's like.
And all of this negativity spirals into more negativity.
Right.
And that's the trap.
Exactly. And that's how they keep you in a very dense and narrow scope of experience, and keeps you and limits you from your ability to create, which is inherent in all human beings. All human beings are given that ability to create, and it is in that creation or that ability to create that you're able to fashion your own reality, to manifest your own reality. And it starts with manifesting your circumstances and the people therein, but it can evolve to what our ancestors used to do, is manipulate matter. Really, like, it gets cosmic, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? How do you think they built the pyramids? Like, we need to get back to that. Let's mentally be able to build pyramids. Let's get to that point, you know what I mean? In our psyches and our emotion. But it's a process. It's a process. And, it may not happen in my lifetime, but that doesn't mean that I don't start the fight. That doesn't mean that I don't start the journey. You know what I'm saying? It may not be completed. Yeah, it doesn't need to be completed with me. Maybe it's gonna be completed by my kids. Maybe it will be completed by my kids' kids. Who knows? But it starts with you. You know what I'm saying? Every circumstance you live in starts with you, whether it's good or bad. It starts with you and your reaction and the energy you put forth, because you're the one giving life to everything around you.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude, this is deep. This is, if you're tuning in, I know you're really locked in. The real ones I know. I'm really locked in right now. And so I look at you, man, UnLearn The World.
Thank you.
Met you down in Oakland as, Marlon, the wizard. This is some magical stuff. And so I know that, you're a rapper, performer, musician, teacher even. What? So blessed you are.
I'm very grateful for my circumstances.
So what are some of the next projects?
I am currently working on a completely self-produced project. It's going to be part instrumental album and then brand new songs, all beats created by me. I'm trying to establish myself or reestablish myself as a producer and a beat maker. So that's the project I'm currently working on. I just released the new Golden Era Mixtape, the deluxe edition. It's like 22 songs, where back in August I dropped the project. It was 18 songs. I added 4 more just to show you the body of work. Like, I just have so many songs and so much content. I just wanted to put it out for the people. People can go on Bandcamp and name their own price and get it for free or whatever the case they want. But for me now, it's about establishing myself as a producer with this new project that I'm coming out with, getting into film work, doing videos that are more like short films, and then community-based or hip-hop-based community events, where we have our music video film festival coming in the late spring, early summer, where it's a showcase, it's a film premiere, it's an award ceremony all in one, so look out for that.
Definitely.
You know, while we're listening to salsa, you know, I'm partnering with the restaurant Soul Groove in San Francisco to do a Caribbean night on a monthly basis. Well, they'll be serving my menu, which is authentic Dominican cuisine.
Because you also cook. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? So
what don't you do?
Yeah. Authentic Dominican cuisine, so they'll be serving that, and then you'll get a vibe of the Caribbean reggae, merengue, salsa, you know, timba. All types of different music from the Caribbean. We'll be playing that and spinning it with the DJ, and you know, just people can come and fellowship and eat and have fun and enjoy themselves and kick back. So I got that going on.
And again, where's this gonna be at?
This is gonna be at Soul Groove, which is
Groove.
in the Tenderloin neighborhood of San Francisco.
And when?
Right attached to the Cabo Hotel. April 27th is the tentative first day that we're going to be, or the first night that we do it, and then hopefully we can make it a monthly or maybe a weekly, depending on its success, you know what I'm saying, God willing. So yeah, community-based events, and then, you know, I just recently became vice president of the All Tribe San Francisco chapter of Zulu Nation, which is, you know, one of the cultural institutions of hip-hop. So we're interested in putting together a lot of different events, putting forward a lot of new initiatives in the city in terms of our volunteer work, in terms of like giving assistance to other nonprofit organizations and all of that. I just recently finished teaching a hip-hop class and a beat-making class in the Alameda County Juvenile Detention Center for about a week as part of their like spring break workshops that they had available. That was a great experience, and I just hope to continue teaching and like really creating my own curriculum and teaching people like the historical context of hip-hop and why hip-hop sounds the way it sounds now and the importance of it. Just again, part of the initiative of reinstituting culture into the music that I think is often lost on our young people.
We need that.
They need the sense of history. I think we get cut off and compartmentalized from our own history, especially people of color and in our experience. So I think it's important to give them that. So I want to do that. But yeah, music, events, movies, films. I'm trying to get into all of it, like just mini mogul status, you know. And you know, if I have the time, as long as I can manage my time appropriately and raise my children at the same time, then I'll be good. But yeah, so look out for all of that, and just try to keep things moving, keep the momentum growing.
Word, definitely, for sure. Really excited for everything to come.
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, definitely thank you guys for tuning in to Yellow Cake Radio. Again, my name is Marge.
UnLearn the World, Yellow Cake Radio.
All right.
We out.
Peace. Good stuff.
Thank you. These are awesome questions. Thank you so much.
You handled everything so well.
See, it's nights like this that make you want to reflect. Under the light of the full moon, we just vibing. Blessings upon blessings. Shit. This that Circle 7 Stargate lyricism mixed with ancient mysticism. Middle finger, you hating criticism. I'm smoking blunts with stardust in them. Do this for the truly hopeless.